What's up, everybody? UFC Fight Night Gilbert Burns versus Brady goes down this weekend. And in this video, I will be going through every single fight on the card, giving my prediction along with a brief breakdown for every single matchup. I will put the time codes down below, so if there's specific fights you want to hear me discuss, there you go. But top to bottom, man, I think that this is a very solid card. I think we have some prospects. We have some veterans looking to get back in the win column. And in our main event, we have Gilbert Burns, whose back is kind of to the wall with the up-and-coming Brady, who's looking to make that first big jump inside the division with a big win over a guy like Gilbert Burns. Let's hop into this. All right, starting with our first fight of the evening between Ramaska and Nathan Fletcher. This was a bout that was supposed to take place on the last Apex card. I'm glad the UFC was able to get this one back on the books because this is a great matchup between two young prospects in Ramaska and Fletcher. But I got to go with Nathan Fletcher in this matchup. Look, I think Ramaska is very dangerous on the feet. I think he has really good striking. He's a fun guy to watch. He's maybe the guy that fans will want to tune in and watch maybe a little bit more than Fletcher in terms of the excitement aspect. But when it comes to getting the job done, I think Fletcher's able to get this one done. I think that the grappling aspect is what's going to cause Ramaska some issues in this matchup, where I think Ramaska definitely has the advantage on the feet. But I don't think Nathan's striking is that terribly far behind to where he can stay safe on the feet. He can mix things up, keep Ramaska guessing, push him up against the fence, take him down, continue to just push the pace and make this a grueling, grimy type of fight for Ramaska. And Nathan's going to excel in that kind of environment, man. And these prospects coming out of the UK and coming out of England, they are always well-rounded. They are always fun to watch, and they are very, very high level. I got Nathan Fletcher getting this one done. But like I said, I think that this is an outstanding matchup between two young prospects. Moving on, we have Andrade Petroski and Dylan Budka. Now, this is an interesting fight to me because when we hear Andrade Petroski, we're like, yeah, Andrade Petroski, right? You know, from The Ultimate Fighter. And we kind of just go, but Petroski's got good grappling. He's basic on the feet. He's kind of one-dimensional, but I think this is a very favorable matchup for him, and I think Petroski's going to get this one done. And I think that, most likely a decision here, but I think Dylan Budka, his last time out, coming off that loss, to Cesar Almeida. Look, Cesar Almeida is a very good kickboxer, but Budka was struggling to take him down, and his striking didn't look that impressive. He was he gassed himself out, and coming into a matchup with a guy like Andrade Petroski, Petroski's not a world beater by any means, but he has experience. He's been in the UFC long enough now to where I think that he's going to weaponize that, and I think that he's going to drag Dylan Budka into the mid to later, second, into the back end of the third round here, to where he's able to maybe get him out of there with something, but I just see him grinding out a decision here. But nonetheless, I just think that Andrade Petroski is going to be able to get this one done. Not so much because of how great Petroski is, but I just don't know that Dylan Budka presents the threats that are needed to beat Andrade Petroski in this matchup. Moving on, we have Jacqueline Amorim and Vanessa Demopoulos. Now, this is kind of an interesting bout here because in the women's strawweight division, the door's wide open here. Both of these women coming off of back-to-back wins here. But I got to go Jacqueline Amorim in this fight. I think that when it comes to the grappling, I think that when it comes to the overall skill set, I think Jacqueline is a little bit ahead of Vanessa. But like I said, I think this is a pretty close matchup. I think that this is going to be a fun fight. I think that this is going to be, I'm going to probably go Jacqueline by decision. Maybe she's able to pull off a submission here. But I just think that Jacqueline is a little bit ahead of Vanessa when it comes to the overall skill set. Moving on, we have Gabriel Santos and Yizha. Now, this is an interesting matchup here because Gabriel Santos, he's someone that I've kind of lost a little bit of confidence in, right? He was on a hot streak for a while there, and then he's coming off back-to-back L's, where we have Yizha, who he's kind of on the opposite side of things. He's, he's had some moments here and there, but he's on a hot streak, riding, winning 4 out of his last 5 here. And these prospects coming out of China, man, they are flashy, they are fun, they are outstanding, and he's kind of taking a little bit of the long road here to get to the UFC, and I think that there's something to be said about that. He's an exciting fighter. He's got a good skill set. I think that he's able to really win this fight wherever the fight takes place. I got Yizha getting this one done. Moving on. we have Andrade Lima and Felipe dos Santos. This is a fun fight. I think that this is one of the best fights actually on the entire card. We have Charles Oliveira Jr. Here with Felipe dos Santos, training over at Team Shoot to Box. Then we have Andrade Lima, former kickboxer. I got to go Andrade Lima in this fight. Look, I think Felipe dos Santos coming off of a close win in his last fight. He's exciting. He's aggressive. He fights kind of like Charles Oliveira, that Thai-like style. He just marches you down, moves forward. I think that might be a little bit of an issue for him in this fight, because if you're just aggressively trying to close down Andrade Lima, who's got good striking, I think that you're opening yourself up to be countered. And I think Felipe is a very good fighter. He's only 23 years of age. Lima's only 25 himself, so two young prospects here. But Lima seems to be finding his groove, right? Undefeated. He's got the confidence. I think that this is going to be, I think there's going to be a fun fight. I don't know if we see a finish in this matchup, but I think Andrade Lima is going to be able to outscore and outpoint Felipe dos Santos to a decision here. I got Lima getting this one done. Moving on. We have Isaac Dulgarian and Brendan Marotte. Now, in this fight here, I got to go Isaac Dulgarian. He's a gigantic favorite coming into this matchup. That's not why I'm picking him per se, but I don't have a lot of confidence in Brendan Marotte. It's not to say that he can't, turn some things around here, but I think the Midwest chop here in Isaac Dulgarian, I think that his skill set is a little bit more well-rounded. We saw what he was able to do to Francis Fire Marshall, who I think is actually a very good fighter inside the UFC. I think he's got good power on the feet. I think he's got some decent grappling, and if this fight hits the floor, I think Brendan's going to be in some trouble. The ground and pound, the submission skills. I think Isaac Dulgarian is just a better overall mixed martial artist. That's what it comes down to for me in this matchup. I have Isaac Dulgarian getting this one done. Moving up the card here, we have OSP Ovince St. Preux and Ryan Spann. Now, I'm going to go Ryan Spann here, and I think that he's able to get a finish. Now, I can't say I'm super confident, right? And I feel like we should, at this point, be able to say that we have confidence in a guy to get it done over OSP, who's 41 years old. OSP, he's kind of been there, done that in the UFC. It seems like he's just kind of hanging on at this point, but he's won 2 out of his last 5 here, so I know that that's not, particularly great, but he is coming off a win, and he's a veteran. He knows how to win, and Ryan Spann is a guy that knows how to lose. Like, Ryan Spann, he's an expert in finding a way to lose, man. It's crazy to me, because I think Spann, he's a big guy, he's powerful, he's got ridiculous power. We saw what he was able to do to Dominic Reyes. I almost said Dominic Cruz. That'd be crazy if Dominic Cruz was fighting Ryan Spann at light heavy, but Ryan Spann's got power. He's got good speed. He's got good boxing, and I think that's going to be a problem for OSP, because OSP, he's kind of been picking and poking his way to decisions, and Ryan Spann, I don't think that that's enough to beat him. But like I said, Ryan finds a way to lose. But I think in this fight, the age is going to show in terms of OSP. I don't think he's just going to be able to pick and poke at Ryan Spann for 3 rounds. I think Ryan is able to close the distance and catch OSP, back him up against the fence, and get him out of there with a nice clean shot that OSP just doesn't see coming. I got Ryan Spann by finish here. Moving on. We have Rongzhu and Chris Padilla. Now, I'm going to go with Rongzhu in this matchup. Look, I think Chris Padilla is a good prospect, and both of these guys are on a 4-fight win streak coming into this. Suffered a loss before that, and like I said before, these prospects coming out of China, man, they are flashy, they are talented, and they are serious about fighting. And I think that Rongzhu in this matchup, I think that he is going to be able to take advantage of Chris Padilla in terms of the overall mixed martial arts aspect, because whenever you have a guy who has good submissions, like we saw what Chris was able to do last time out against Lontop, he sunk in a beautiful submission. But I just don't think he's going to be able to do something like that to Rongzhu. I think he's well-rounded. I think that the grappling isn't necessarily going to be too much of an issue. And I think if this fight's left on the feet, I think Rongzhu can hold his own. So I think we see a decision here, and I think Rongzhu is able to get this one done. Okay, moving on. We have Trevor Peek and Yanal Ashmouz. Now, the Red Fox, man. This dude, he's a dude who doesn't give a fuck, man. The way this guy fights, he is chaotic. Now, he spent some time away. He had the injury in his last matchup with Duncan and still made it through the fight and lost by decision there. So, to me, a little bit of an asterisk there. But the fight before that, nasty KO over Patterson, this is a ferocious individual in Yanal Ashmouz, and I think that he's going to be able to win this fight by finish here over Trevor Peek, who is also a very, very entertaining fighter to watch. Trevor Peek, every fight that he's been in the UFC seems like it has been a crazy fight. And his last one, against Campbell, he's had some good fights in the UFC. But I just think, man, when this guy's healthy, he has crazy power. He is in there slinging leather. He's not looking to go to a decision. And Trevor Peek likes to duke it out as well. And I think Yanal Ashmouz, I just think he's a little bit better technically of a fighter. And I think that the power advantage on his side in this matchup is just going to be a little bit too much for Trevor Peek. But I do think that this is going to be a fun scrap. But I got Yanal Ashmouz getting this one done. Moving on. We have Matt Schnell and Alessandro Costa. I'm going to go Alessandro Costa in this matchup. Look, I'm not a guy that's particularly high on Danger Schnell here. I think Matt Schnell has been a product of some victories to where maybe he shouldn't have won those fights. He gets rocked, he gets hurt, he gets battered, and finds a way back into the fight to get the job done if it goes into kind of that, the murky, deep waters in terms of the fight. But I don't see that happening in this bout with Alessandro Costa. Costa's a guy he's fought some close rounds with some top competition in the division, and I just think that, look, he's a guy that is a little bit more reliable here for me, and that's what it comes down to. I don't trust Matt Schnell. I think that he's chinny, number one, and I just think that overall, he's just kind of on a downward spiral, in my opinion, at this point. And I think Alessandro Costa, the skill set, he's a little bit more well-rounded than Matt Schnell. I think that he can hurt Schnell on the feet, maybe look for a submission to get him out of there. But either way, I just think that Costa is able to pretty easily win this fight over Matt Schnell, because like I said, I can't trust Matt Schnell, and I don't know if I will ever again, just considering, not because he's on a 2-fight losing streak so much, but it's just even fights that he's winning. He's getting battered, he's getting beat up, and then someone gets tired, and maybe he's able to lock in a submission or kind of battle back. And I know he's been able to do some impressive things, but I feel confident in Alessandro Costa. I trust him a little bit more. I got him winning this fight. Moving on, we have Kyle Nelson and Steve Garcia. Now, this is an interesting matchup because this was supposed to be Kyle Nelson and Calvin Kattar, I believe, which I was excited to see that fight take place because I was excited to see Calvin Kattar get the opportunity to bounce back because Kyle Nelson's a good dance partner. He's a fun fighter. Yeah, whenever I see his picture, I think it's Guram. Him and Guram look very similar. They got that bald head with the fluffy beard. But this ain't Guram. Look, I think Kyle Nelson, he's good on the feet. He's got good striking. He's fun to watch. But Steve Garcia, the Mean Machine, man, he's called that for a reason. And I got Steve Garcia winning this fight by finish. I think that he's able to go out there and hurt Kyle Nelson pretty badly. I think Steve Garcia, he's aggressive on the feet. He's got good power. He's got good timing. And he loves a fight. And so does Kyle Nelson. But I think the power advantage of Steve Garcia is going to be noticeable in this matchup to where Kyle Nelson is just not going to be able to pick his shots. I think Steve Garcia is able to overwhelm him in, just kind of be that brute force that he is, march forward, march him down, and get him out of there. I have Steve Garcia getting this one done by finish. Moving on to the co-main event of the evening, we have Jessica Andrade and Natalia Silva. Now, I always love when we get a prospect like Natalia Silva who's riding a nice win streak coming into this one, 5 in a row. I'm pretty sure she's won like 11 fights in a row or something crazy like that. She's really been figuring it out. I think she trains over at Team Borrasca, which is Paulo Costa's brother's gym. So she's got good training partners. She's got a good team behind her. She has good jiu-jitsu. Her striking has improved. I think that she's going to be able to get this one done. Now, this is going to be a tough fight. And the thing is, this is 3 rounds. If this was 5 rounds, maybe I lean a little bit more towards Jessica Andrade. But Jessica suffered 3 L's in a row. She's coming off back-to-back W's over Dern and I can't remember her last bout, Marina Rodriguez at UFC 300. And look, I think that she's a good fighter. She's got good head movement. She's got good power. She's dangerous. She's kind of bounced around weight classes. And I think that that's just going to catch up to her in this fight. I think that Natalia Silva is kind of the next generation in terms of this division. I think that she's very well-rounded. I think she has confidence. I think that wherever the fight takes place, she will be just fine. Like I said, the only thing that does concern me is whenever we see these prospects get that first huge jump up at competition with someone like Jessica Andrade, who I can't believe Andrade is 32. I feel like she's been in the UFC she has been in the UFC for a while, but I thought she was older than that. But still, she's got good power. She's a veteran. She knows how to win. Like I said, if this was 5 rounds, I could see maybe Andrade dragging this out into the mid to later rounds and taking Natalia Silva in the deep water, maybe, getting her out of there later on. But with this only being a 3-round fight, I feel okay that Natalia Silva can go in there and get the job done. Because look, we've seen this happen in the UFC where you get a prospect who gets a win, whatever, and they throw him a top dog in the division, a big step up in competition, and they give him a 5-round, apex main event, or they give him some sort of spotlight to where, you feel like the emotions get the best of them, or they get tired, and some of those things become a factor to where in this, a 3-round fight serves Natalia Silva well. I think that she's very skilled. I think that she is a very highly touted prospect in the division. I think her win streak continues, and I think that she's able to get this one done by decision over Jessica Andrade. Because Andrade is kind of hard to finish, and she's a good fighter. So I'm going to go Natalia Silva by decision here. Okay, the final fight of the evening, the main event between Gilbert Burns and Sean Brady. I've went back and forth on this one. I've had a really hard time making up my mind on who I'm going to pick to win this fight, but I've came to a decision, and I'm going to ride with Gilly, man. I'm going to go with Dilbert. I'm going to go with Dorino, Gilbert Burns, man. Look, I think that this just comes down to Gilbert Burns is 38 years of age, and I understand how that concerns people. And, once a fighter starts to kind of get towards the tail end, we tend to write him off a little bit. Gilbert's lost his last 2. He won the 2 before that. And I understand where someone can say, oh, well, he's lost his last 2, but let's think about it for a second. The one was against Belal Muhammad, where he was compromised coming into that fight. I believe Belal was as well. They both took that fight on short notice. The UFC said it was a #1 title fight, whatever, and it was a load of crap from the UFC. But it was 2 guys that I wish were healthy when they got to fight each other. But Belal Muhammad definitely won the fight. Then he goes out there against Jack Della Maddalena, and Burns looked great. He looked really good. He was dialed in. He was implementing the takedowns. He was having his way with JDM, and then just got caught with a knee late in the fight, and then JDM was able to have his way. And Gilbert Burns, he's got good grappling. He's got really good power in his hands, and he has outstanding jiu-jitsu. And the other thing for me, he takes great care of his body. For a guy that's 38, a guy that's been around the fight game for a while, he is constantly doing the right things. He has a really good team around him. He's got a good strength and conditioning program. I think that this is a guy that, he's going to be able to go out there. I think that he's going to be able to outstrike Sean Brady. He's got more power. Because look, I think Sean Brady's a good fighter. He has good grappling. He has good jiu-jitsu. On the feet, he's okay, but he doesn't have crazy power or anything. And look at the guys that he's ragdolling around. They're not Gilbert Burns. Gilbert Burns is strong. He's got good power. And I know Gilbert Burns doesn't have the best defense, and he's getting dropped by jabs and some of those different things. But if you're thinking that Sean Brady's just going to go out there and ragdoll Gilbert Burns around, maybe that happens, but I just don't think that's very likely. When does that happen? You know what I mean? I think Gilbert Burns is just, I think he's tough. He's durable, so he's going to be hard to get out of there. I don't think Sean Brady's going to sub him, and it's going to be 5 rounds. And Sean Brady hasn't won 5 rounds before, and he's getting touched up on the feet by a guy like Michael Chiesa. So I think that Gilbert's going to be able to land. And when Gilbert does land, we've seen what he's able to do. He's able to, he's able to hurt Masvidal. He was able to hurt Khamzat Chimaev. He's been able to hurt Usman. This is a guy that has good power, and he has the jiu-jitsu to where if Brady just wants to come out wrestle heavy, threaten with submissions and deter Brady from some of the grappling. So I think this is a big step up in competition for Brady. I know he went, out there against Belal Muhammad, and Belal ran right over him, and we've seen how good Belal is. So I don't want to take too much away from Brady there, but I think Gilbert Burns, I think he still has some gas left at the tank. And this is not pretty boy Gilbert anymore. This isn't a dude that's braiding his hair, coming in with it, this he's not, wearing goofy outfits to the press conferences. This is Gilbert Burns, who's shaved his head back down. This is a guy that's dialed in, taking care of his body. He's got a good team around him. Kill Cliff FC over there, keeping him young. He's got good training partners around him. I think Gilbert Burns is able to get this one done. Maybe there's a scenario where he could hurt Sean Brady and get him out of there, but maybe a 5-round decision to where this is kind of a, Brady does well in the early rounds and then Gilbert starts to take over. This is a very solid Apex main event here. I think that this card actually should be in front of a crowd. I think that it's got some great fights on it. But those are my picks for this upcoming fight card. I want to hear from you all down in the comments. Like this video. Subscribe to the channel. Help your boy out. I would appreciate it. See you next time.